To her, the family ATM, my mom mocked, unaware the call didn't end. I gave them a special Hawaii trip. The next day, my dad called constantly. I never thought I'd be the one to walk away from my family. That wasn't me. I was the loyal one, the responsible one, the one everyone could count on until I couldn't count on them anymore. It started small, a phone call from my younger brother Jake about textbooks he couldn't afford, a tearful conversation with my sister Mia about her car breaking down, mom needing help with the electric bill just this once, dad's health insurance gap. Just temporary setbacks, I told myself. Family helps family. My career had taken off early. Software engineering at a startup that went public. Nothing outrageous, but enough that I had a comfortable cushion while they were still struggling. It felt good to help, to be needed. I didn't notice the pattern forming, didn't see how just this once became every month, how emergencies became expectations. My account balance dwindled. My savings goals stretched further into the future, but I kept saying yes. What else could I do? They were family. The requests grew more frequent, more extravagant. Mia needed first and last month's rent for a new apartment. Jake crashed his car and needed another. Mom wanted kitchen renovations. Dad mentioned a timeshare opportunity that was too good to pass up. I started working overtime, took on consulting projects on weekends, delayed my own dreams of buying a house, of traveling, of building my own life. The breaking point came in June. I'd been planning a solo trip to Japan for years, had the time off approved, flights booked, accommodations arranged. 3 days before departure, Mom called. Her voice carried that familiar tremor that signaled an incoming request. Your father and I are in a bit of a situation with the IRS. We need $15,000 by Friday. My stomach dropped. That was most of my travel fund, plus what I'd been saving for a down payment. What happened? Oh, you know your father. He thought he could handle the taxes himself this year, made some mistakes. Something in her tone didn't sit right, too rehearsed, too casual for a 5-figure emergency. Can I see the notice? Maybe I can help figure out a payment plan. Silence on the line. Then, we don't need you to solve it, Alex. We need you to pay for it. I canceled my trip, transferred the money, told myself it was temporary, that they'd pay me back eventually. They didn't even say thank you. A week later, my sister posted photos on Instagram. Her mom and dad at a resort in Miami. Cocktails by the pool, shopping bags from designer stores, captions about surprise family vacation and best parents ever. I called immediately. Mom didn't pick up. Neither did Dad or Mia. Jake answered on the 4th ring, sounding annoyed. Background noise of a party. What do you want? We're kind of in the middle of something. My voice caught in my throat. You're all in Miami? Yeah, Mom and Dad surprised us. Spur of the moment thing. You should see this place. It's insane. My hands trembled. When did you plan this? I don't know. A month ago, Mom said something about a tax refund coming through. Lucky timing, right? Tax refund, not tax emergency. The call seemed to end, except he hadn't properly hung up. I heard shuffling, laughter, my name. Alex actually bought that tax story. Unbelievable, my mother's voice. Well, she's always been easy that way. Remember when she paid for Jake's emergency dental work? More laughter. Jake this time. Yeah, that Xbox sure fixed my teeth. As long as she keeps paying, who cares? Dad's voice again. Just whine a little and she'll pull out her credit card like always. To Alex, the family ATM, Mia's voice followed by the clink of glasses. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Their words circled in my head like vultures. Family ATM, easy, just whine a little. I'd been so blind. They continued talking, unaware I could hear every word. Plans for the next extraction. What they'd tell me, how much they'd ask for, all so casual, so practiced. I hung up, turned off my phone, sat in the dark of my apartment until morning. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were messages from all of them. Nothing about what I'd heard, just more requests, more needs, more expectations. Something hardened inside me, a resolve I didn't know I had. I didn't confront them immediately, didn't let on what I knew. Instead, I started planning. First, I called a financial advisor, reviewed every dollar I'd given them over the past 5 years. The total made me physically ill, enough for a house, multiple houses in some markets. Next, I contacted a therapist, started unpacking the dynamics that had led me here, the guilt, the manipulation, my desperate need for approval. But there was something else I needed to do first, something to settle the score. They had taken so much from me, years of sacrifices, countless opportunities lost. The trip to Japan was just the latest casualty in a long line of dreams I'd surrendered for their benefit. I sent them all the same message. I've come into some unexpected money and want to treat the family to something special. A proper vacation to make up for missing Miami. They responded immediately, enthusiastically, no questions about my sudden generosity. I spent the next 2 weeks planning what they believed would be the ultimate family getaway. A luxury resort in Hawaii, first-class flights, private tour, the works. I researched the most exclusive resort on Maui, 5-star accommodations with ocean view suites, private beach access, custom spa treatments, a renowned chef preparing meals just for them. I sent screenshots of the rooms they'd be staying in, the breathtaking views, the infinity pool overlooking the Pacific, the cabanas where they could sip cocktails while watching the sunset. Dad texted immediately, "Now this is what I'm talking about. My daughter is finally doing something right for the family." Mom called, breathless with excitement, leaving a voicemail about how she'd need to buy a new wardrobe for the trip. "Nothing in my closet is suitable for somewhere so upscale," she gushed, not so subtly hinting that I should fund this shopping spree too. Mia posted on social media, "When your sister finally steps up and treats the family right," complete with vacation hashtags and palm tree emojis. Jake sent a simple text, "About time you did something for us instead of being so selfish with your money." Not one thank you, not one expression of gratitude, just entitlement, expectation, as if this lavish trip was simply what they deserved from me. I sent confirmation, detailed itineraries, encouraged them to pack their best clothes, to prepare for the trip of a lifetime. The build-up lasted for weeks. Every day I'd send them something new to anticipate. A pamphlet about the helicopter tour of the island I'd booked, information about the private yacht excursion to spot whales, reservations for dinners at exclusive restaurants that normally had month-long waiting lists. They sent excited texts, called each other to discuss what to pack, posted countdown updates on social media, bragged to friends and neighbors about their upcoming luxury vacation. I even had special luggage delivered to their house, high-end suitcases with their initials monogrammed on the sides. "To make sure you travel in style," read the note I included. Mom called, actually crying with happiness. "This is the kind of thing we always knew you were capable of doing for us, sweetheart. I'm so proud you're finally thinking of your family." The night before their departure, they were all packed, ready, buzzing with anticipation. Mom had bought new resort wear, Dad had purchased an expensive camera to document their trip. Jake and Mia had already changed their social media profiles to feature palm trees and sunset backgrounds. That's when I sent the final email. "Everything has been canceled, all of it. The resort, the flights, the excursions. This is what it feels like to have your dreams yanked away at the last minute. To plan something for years only to have it snatched from you because someone else decided their wants were more important than your needs. Remember my Japan trip that I canceled to pay your fake tax bill? Consider us even, don't contact me again." I attached a record of the conversation I'd overheard, the one where they'd laughed about me being their ATM, where they'd mocked my gullibility, where they'd toasted to their successful manipulation. My phone exploded with calls and messages, outraged, disbelieving. How could I be so cruel, so selfish, so heartless? "Dad, is this some kind of sick joke? We're sitting here with our luggage ready to go." "Mom, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. I raised you better than this. Mia, you absolute psycho, I've already posted about this trip. Everyone knows we're supposed to be going. How am I supposed to explain this? Jake, you're dead to me, dead. I hope you're happy alone with your money because you've just lost your family forever. I turned off my phone, opened a bottle of wine, felt the weight of years lift from my shoulders. Was it petty? Perhaps. Necessary? Absolutely. The next morning, I woke to dozens of missed calls, voicemails ranging from tearful pleas to vicious threats. Text messages oscillated between guilt trips and rage, but one message stood out from the rest. An email from Dad, different from the others, no anger, just a cold calculation. If you don't make this right immediately, you're cut from the will. Everything we have, the house, Mom's jewelry, Grandma's antiques, all of it will go to Jake and Mia. Not one penny to you. This is your last chance to fix your mistake and remain part of this family. I laughed out loud, the final threat, the ultimate leveraging tool they thought they had over me. I drafted a formal letter renouncing any claim to inheritance, had it notarized, sent copies to each of them. Keep your money, I've already paid more than my share. I've calculated that over the past 5 years I've given you $127,839 in loans and gifts. Consider that my inheritance taken in advance. I want nothing more from you, not your money, not your guilt, not your manipulation. Our relationship is now terminated. Dad responded almost immediately. You don't mean that, you're just upset. Think about what you're throwing away. The family home, your mother's diamond earrings that you always admired, your grandfather's watch that should go to your firstborn son someday. My hands didn't even tremble as I typed my response. What I'm throwing away is a relationship based on exploitation. What I'm keeping is my dignity, my financial security, and my self-respect. Those are worth more than any inheritance. Mom tried a different approach, sent a tear-stained letter about family legacy, about how I was breaking the chain of generations, about how someday I'd regret walking away from my birthright. I didn't respond, there was nothing left to say. Jake and Mia teamed up, alternating between threats and insults. They'd contest any attempt I made later to claim my share. They'd tell everyone what a horrible person I was. They'd make sure no one in our extended family would ever speak to me again, as if that was a punishment rather than a relief. After that final message, I blocked them completely, changed my locks, asked my apartment building to strengthen security, prepared for the worst. I wasn't prepared for how quickly they escalated. Mom showed up at my workplace the very next day, made a scene in the lobby. Security had to escort her out while she screamed about ungrateful children and how she wished she'd never given birth to me. Dad tried to access my bank accounts, claiming a family emergency. The bank called to warn me. When that failed, he contacted my employer, spreading lies about my mental health, suggesting I was unfit for my position. Mia wrote a long, vicious post on social media about ungrateful siblings and mental health problems, tagged mutual friends, shared childhood photos with captions about how I'd changed and become cruel and heartless. Jake was the most direct, showed up drunk at my apartment building at 2 a.m., pounded on my door, threatened to teach me a lesson about family loyalty. I called the police. They escorted him away. I filed for a restraining order the next morning. The storm raged for weeks, then months. I weathered it in silence, in therapy, in the new boundaries I was learning to establish. My extended family took sides. Most chose theirs, the side that had controlled the narrative for years, that could play the victim role so convincingly. Aunts and uncles I'd once been close to stopped speaking to me. Cousins I'd grown up with blocked me on social media. Only my grandmother seemed to understand. She called from her nursing home, her voice frail but determined. I've watched how they treat you for years, she said quietly. How they take and take. I should have said something sooner, be stronger for you. Her support meant everything, a lifeline when I felt most isolated. 6 months after the Hawaii incident, the attempts at contact dwindled. A year later, they stopped entirely. I heard through mutual friends that they'd found new targets, other relatives, old family friends, anyone who might believe their stories of hardship. I felt a twinge of guilt, not for cutting them off that I would never regret, but for not warning others, for not exposing them more publicly. My therapist helped me see that it wasn't my responsibility. I couldn't save everyone from them, could only save myself. Dad's threat about the will emerged occasionally in my thoughts. I'd been raised to see that inheritance as my birthright, as security for my future, as the culmination of generations of family building. Walking away from it hadn't been easy, but every time I questioned my decision, I reminded myself of what that inheritance would really cost me. Years more of exploitation, of manipulation, of emotional abuse disguised as family love. No amount of money was worth that price. 2 years after cutting ties, I received a certified letter, official legal notification that I had indeed been formally removed from the will, just as Dad had threatened. The family home, the assets, the heirlooms, all designated exclusively for Jake and Mia. I expected to feel something, loss, regret, maybe even second thoughts. Instead, I felt only relief. The final tie severed, the last hold they had over me gone. I celebrated that night, opened an expensive bottle of champagne I'd been saving for a special occasion, toasted to my freedom. 2 years after the Miami incident, I finally took my trip to Japan. Those 2 weeks in Japan were healing in ways I hadn't anticipated. Being in a place where no one knew me, where no one had expectations, where I could simply exist without justifying my presence. When I returned home, I started the process of reclaiming my life, piece by piece. I bought a house, nothing extravagant but mine. Every nail I hammered, every wall I painted felt like an act of reclamation. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a scrappy little mutt who'd also been abandoned by those who should have cared for him. We healed together, Rex and I, learning to trust again, to play, to live in the moment. 3 years after cutting ties with my family, I received a letter from a cousin I hadn't spoken to since childhood. She'd tracked me down, wanting to reconnect. "I've left them too," she wrote. "It took me longer to see what you saw, but I got there eventually." We met for coffee, shared stories that mirrored each other so closely it was eerie. The patterns, the manipulation, the constant talking disguised as love. "You inspired me," she said. "When you walked away, I thought if you could do it, maybe I could too." That night, I added a new page to my special notebook, the one where I kept track of my life post-family. Under unexpected gifts, I wrote, "Help someone else break free." 5 years after the Hawaii incident, I received another email from my father. Subject line, "The will." My heart jumped despite myself. I hesitated before opening it, wondering what new manipulation this might be. His message was brief. "Your grandfather's estate has finally been settled. Despite your betrayal of this family, there was a separate trust he established years ago nomming you specifically. Even I can't touch it. The lawyers need your contact information. If you want what's yours, respond with your address." I consulted my own attorney before replying, confirmed that this wasn't a trick, a way to get my address, or another attempt to pull me back into their orbit. The trust was real, a significant amount of money my grandfather had set aside specifically for me, independent of my parents' will. Dad was right, he couldn't touch it, couldn't prevent me from receiving it, couldn't use it as leverage. I provided my information to the estate lawyers, received the inheritance with mixed emotions. Gratitude to my grandfather, who had perhaps seen something of the family dynamics even years ago. Sadness that he was gone. Complexity about accepting anything connected to my family. In the end, I donated half to organizations supporting victims of emotional abuse. The other half went into a fund for my future, the house I was renovating, retirement savings, the life I was building on my terms. Dad's email was the last contact I had with any of them. I've heard bits and pieces through mutual connections. Mom still complains about money while buying luxury items. Dad still pretends to higher status than their finances support. Jake and Mia still drift between jobs, always with excuses for why things fell through. Without me to bail them out, they've had to adjust their expectations, scale back, face reality in ways they never had to when I was their safety net. Sometimes I wonder how different their lives might have been if I'd said no earlier, if I hadn't enabled their patterns for so long, if I'd forced them to confront their financial reality before it became so entrenched. But that's not my responsibility, never was. The hardest pill to swallow in all of this: they will never understand what they did wrong, never recognize the damage they caused, never acknowledge my pain as valid. In their narrative, I'm still the villain, the selfish daughter who abandoned her family, who cruelly cut them off when they needed her most, who denied them what was rightfully theirs. I used to fantasize about a Hollywood ending, a tearful reconciliation, heartfelt apologies. The family finally saw the error of their ways and made amends. I've let go of that fantasy. It's another form of self-harm waiting for closure from people incapable of giving it. My closure came from within, from acceptance, from understanding that their behavior wasn't about me at all. I was simply the most convenient resource, the path of least resistance. They didn't take it from me because I deserved it. They took because taking was all they knew how to do. Breaking generational patterns is hard work, soul work, the kind that requires confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself and those you love. I once asked my therapist why I didn't see the pattern sooner, why I kept giving and giving despite the growing evidence that something was wrong. Because you were raised to believe your value came from what you could provide, she said. They trained you from childhood to respond to their needs above your own. That training runs deep. Reshaping it takes time, patience, endless compassion for yourself when you stumble back into old habits. The world doesn't make it easy. Our culture celebrates martyrdom, glorifies sacrifice, tells us that real love means giving until there's nothing left. Question that narrative, challenge it. Ask yourself who benefits when you believe your worth comes from depleting yourself for others. Not all families are like mine, I know that. There are healthy ones where support flows both ways, where helping each other doesn't mean erasing yourself, where love isn't transactional. If you have that, cherish it, nurture it, recognize how precious it is. And if you don't, if you see your story reflected in mine, know that another life is possible. A life where relationships energize rather than deplete you, where your needs matter, where love doesn't come with strings attached. My worth isn't measured in what I can provide for others. It exists independently of utility, of function, of purpose. I am enough simply because I am, and so are you.